you heard in the list of sponsors a lot of people whose name included ranked choice voting. And we have an active movement going on right now in New Hampshire to establish ranked choice voting for the presidential campaigns. And so just make sure everybody understands what this would mean. It would mean you go into the ballot box at the primary and you would say, I'm for so-and-so first, maybe people here might say Yang first, and I'm for so-and-so second, and I'm for so-and-so third. And then if your first choice doesn't happen to get more than 15% of the vote, which is the cutoff to get delegates in New Hampshire, then your second choice would be counted. And if your second choice doesn't get that vote, then your third choice would be counted. And the process, of course, would therefore give us candidates that most Democrats actually are behind, as opposed to giving us a list of candidates, each who gets 10, 20, 30, 40% of the vote. So you've announced your support for this idea. And I wonder if you could explain to us why you think that helps our democracy to have something like ranked choice in the system.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of ranked choice voting. And if you, oh good. I'm for other things you like too. So, I mean, right now our process is, it's like this first past the post system. It ends up squelching diversity of perspectives. And what happens, and you'll hear this every cycle, where it's like, don't waste your vote, don't waste your vote. And so maybe you like this person, but that person might not have like a 51% chance of winning, and so people are like, oh, like, don't do it, don't do it. And so you end up not expressing your true preference, and then you say, okay, I'm going to end up voting for this person instead. So what that means in practice is it ends up rewarding and protecting incumbents. It makes it harder for third parties to arise. And in the extremes, it can even completely change the result from something that the majority of voters intended. Let's say, for example, Donald Trump in the last cycle, where there was a whole slew of Republicans, and he might have been the last choice of a lot of people who went to other candidates. And in a ranked choice system, he might not have performed as well, because a lot of people wouldn't have necessarily had them as their second choice. So it's huge. It would be a huge increase in the efficacy of our democracy in terms of its actual representing the will of the people if we were to have ranked choice voting and you could express your true preferences.
Yeah, and so, yes, thank you. And you can feel the dynamic in this race in particular. So take the issue that you champion, UBI, which again is an issue that America has got to think about. I think it's a really important idea that we need more people to talk about. And if you're in a race where ranked choice voting was going to determine who the winner of the election was, other candidates would be eager to engage on the question of UBI, because they would know, even if they're not going to get first choice vote from Andrew Yang supporters, maybe they'll get the second choice or the third choice. So this issue, which is not right now at the center of American debate, becomes all of a sudden relevant because they're eager to wow people who would support you. As opposed to a system where it's first past the post, they're like, okay, this issue is just a fringe issue. There's no reason I need to talk about this issue. So it's oddly a way to bring outside views into the debate, whether or not they ultimately win.
Yeah, so I would be for ranked choice voting even if I were not in this race. But it would help some. It would help someone like me. It's true. It would also help to mainstream this consideration of universal basic income. And one thing I was very heartened by is that there was a recent poll that showed a majority of Democrats are for universal basic income. So if a majority of Democrats are for this policy, I should not be the only person championing it. There should be other Democrats getting on board, and ranked choice voting would make that more likely.
Yeah. So how many people here are actually in favor of ranked choice voting? Can you raise your hand? Okay. That's a lot of people. How many people here...
What's your second choice?
How many people here have reached out to the incredible New Hampshire legislature to tell them you're in favor of ranked choice voting? Please, at least 5 people's hands go. Okay, great. So this is the reality. The Democrats in the legislature are taking the lead right now, in the Senate in particular, to try to make sure this happens. It's not going to be easy to make sure it happens by the next election. So this is a real opportunity for you to do something that could have a significant effect, not just for Andrew's campaign, but I think more importantly for the capacity for this democracy to actually reflect the views of the majority. So this is your homework assignment. I'm a professor. I give homework assignments. This is yours. Please, whatever you do after this, tell your representatives here what you think about this idea that Andrew has been talking about.